So what if you wanted to make a person, not an inanimate object, not a piece of fruit or a vegetable? What if you wanted to do people? Well, same principle applies. You want to focus on basic shapes. But what makes cartooning funny is exaggeration. So you don't want to exaggerate every feature, but there will be features you're going to want to exaggerate, whether it's someone's length or a large nose or small eyes. That's what makes it funny. So to get started, we first have to think of head shape. So on a new piece of paper, I want you to put a whole bunch of different shapes, and we're going to adapt them to make them into faces. So let's start with our most basic, which would be the oval. And then I'm going to do kind of a rounded square, like this. Let's try a diamond, kind of a rounded diamond. How about like a peanut shape, like this? Maybe an egg shape, like this. And how about a pear? So once you have a few different kinds of shapes, now we're going to convert them into faces, cartoon faces. So let's start with this oval. That is the most basic shape. You can make all kinds of faces out of an oval. Going back to my worksheet where I had different eyes, nose, mouth, keep that handy. That will serve as a reference guide for you. I think I'm going to give this guy the basic cartoon eye, which is the ovals that are right up against each other with a little dot in the center of the oval. And again, I'm going to have, depending on where you place the dark dot, is where the direction that the character is looking. So I'm going to have him looking over to the side. And the letter C on its side, like this, going that way. And just a nice big smile. Basic cartoon face. But to make it a real character, it needs something like hair and ears. Now, here's the rule of thumb when you're doing hair for a cartoon character. You want to know where the ears are going to be first. See, the nose is like the anchor of the face, but the ear helps give guidance about where the hairline will be. So for this guy, we're just going to go real simple. We're just going to spike it up like that. Real quick lines right over the ear. Now for this square's face, it seems to me it would be a guy because it's a big kind of square face. And let's just do kind of a serious eyebrow line that goes right across, and just two little dots looking to the side, and maybe a long J like that, kind of like a fish hook that goes that way, and just a dash at an angle for a mouth. Well, I'll just do tiny little ears here off the sides, and he doesn't have a lot of hair, kind of sparse on top, so we'll just do a few quick lines like that. And there's our cartoon guy. Well, what if you wanted to do a girl? Well, for female characters, there's a few characteristics that you can add to make them look female, eyelashes being the biggest one. So let's make this peanut character a girl, shall we? So it's a peanut shape, kind of an exaggerated jaw, exaggerated chin. And let's just do for the nose, we're going to do an upside down U. So it's like a little pug nose there. Two little dots. And let's just do two little eyes. And here I'll do a cartoon mouth where the bottom half is shaded in. Now in order to make this look like a girl, I'm going to add eyelashes. And then of course hair can really help you. So let's just do some kind of ears that kind of wag out like that. And we can maybe make some bangs, a few lines, and a ponytail. Now friends, one of the tricks of the cartoonist is to use as few lines as possible to get your point across. See, when you're doing real illustration, where you're trying to look realistic, that's when you spend a lot of time doing a lot of lines, perhaps even shading, because you're trying to convey accuracy and realism. But cartooning is not about being real. Cartooning is about being funny. And you can convey that with as few lines as possible. Now, it might take some practice. Like in this case, after I made her ponytail, I don't want to see the top of that peanut line show. But you can see I didn't use very many lines to convey the ponytail. Now, I was drawing darker because I want it to show up on the camera. You should kind of always draw light. But with a few little lines, I got the idea that she has bangs and a ponytail. This flame shape, let's have a mouth that's kind of open in surprise, an L, and I'll make my eyes kind of off to the side, up, and eyebrows. Eyebrows can help if you're conveying surprise, if you put a lot of space between the eyebrows and the eyes. And let's see, ears to anchor that. And I'm thinking maybe for this character, I want to do some kind of different kind of hair. How about kind of wild curly hair like this? Again, just a really simple line around the top hair to convey that hair. So you can see already how our cartoon characters are so different because the individual features are really different. But even if you were to use these basic cartoon eyes over and over, which you'll notice a lot of cartoon artists will use the same eyes. It kind of is part of their signature style. I'll put the half lines here to make it kind of sleepy. And for this character, to make this character different, I'll give him a bushy mustache. And so I won't even bother with the mouth because it's kind of hidden under the bushy mustache. See that? And we'll put some ears that kind of stick out. And we'll leave the top bald, and I'll just put some hair right above the ears, like that. You can keep going. You can just add shapes, put on all kinds of features. The idea is to keep it simple and to focus on those funny human characteristics. So we have a lot of different faces with a lot of different shapes. But what if you want to do the whole thing? What if you want to do an entire figure of a cartoon person, not just a face? Well, it takes some practice, but the key again is exaggeration. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a cartoon character, and I want him to be tall. So I'm going to exaggerate the features that make somebody tall, which is long arms, long legs. So we'll just pretend he's like a teenager. So I'm going to work on this whole page. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to get an idea of the face, since that's what people are going to instantly be drawn to, the characters. They're going to look at their face. So for this guy, I'm going to do kind of a long oval, because he's a long guy. I want to make sure he fits into my whole page, so I'm just going to draw very lightly kind of what I look at as the stick figure that will represent him. I'm going to make his body here, and then some long legs, and long arms. You can see I'm making him long and thin. Exaggeration is what makes it funny. So I'm just going to start to draw a long body, long torso, and I'm going to give him long legs, but I'm going to put him in baggy jeans. So I already have very lightly the lines that are going to be the length of my legs, but on either side of that line I'm going to kind of make some droopy, baggy lines that end in really big feet. Again, exaggeration. So he's got some big shoes on, some big sneakers. There's one leg. And here's another. And again, those nice big feet. I bet you know some teenagers with some big feet. Okay, so long body, long legs, long face. So I think for up here, about the center of that oval, I'm going to do classic cartoon eyes and a long nose and a small dash for the mouth. And I'm going to give him just a t-shirt, but I think I'm going to stick a basketball under here. I think he's a basketball player, so he's got a basketball. His elbows around there, and he's holding on to the basketball. So he's a long guy. Now what kind of hair do you think this teenager would have? I'm going to give him some long ears down here. What do you think? Spiky hair? Baseball cap? Let's just give him some spiky hair like that. So there we have our long cartoon character. I exaggerated the feet to make them really large, kind of balances out how long the character is. And I'm showing a long face, so right away you get an idea that this might be a kind of a gawky, kind of basketball playing teenager. But you can do the opposite too. You can make his best friend be kind of short and squatty. And so for that, I want to do opposite. Instead of a long face, I'm going to do a round face. And instead of a long body, even though I'll probably put in my stick figure, I'm going to show where the torso is, but I think he's going to have kind of short legs like this, wide shoulders and arms. So he's going to be much shorter than his friend. So now I'm going to think in terms of round. A round body, maybe a long t-shirt like this, maybe some short shorts, and little feet. So the opposite of his friend. So he has little feet. And then you always can go back and erase the lines that you don't need. So this friend, maybe he's got a football jersey on or something like that, right? So we'll put a big number on his chest. And he's got rounder arms and shorter hands, little hands. And let's put him in a baseball cap. Hats are an accessory you can use too. We'll put him in a backwards baseball cap. How's that? And we'll give him little eyes. And maybe a double chin. And ears that stick out. And I erase the lines I don't want. And there we have two friends, cartoon friends, that are very different in their size and shape. And I try to keep the lines simple, not a lot of detail. And once you start practicing developing different characters that you really like, then you can start to play around with how do you show them facing left or facing right, speaking versus standing still, running, walking. And that takes a lot of time and practice, but you have to first develop a character that you connect with, that you really like. I bet you spend a lot of time doodling, and that's awesome. Doodling is one of the ways that your brain uses your hand and your brain to connect together to express on paper what you're thinking about. So doodling can be a good thing as long as you're not doing it when you're supposed to be doing your schoolwork. But if you're doodling when you're at home, that's awesome. And it usually results in creating some type of cartoon character that you go back to over and over again. And that's terrific.